They're just scribbles. I'm just sort of depicting, what we're talking about here, where the women start by, I'll switch to myself. They start by saying that they want something, and then the men, in order to deliver it, I was going to color these in too. If the men, this is going to be a little red square and a blue circle. The women
Mm-hmm.
say that they want something, and the men say, well, in order to deliver that, I need the, blue circle.
Mm-hmm.
But then the women are saying, well, I want that too. That's the problem that we're having, where they want to have it all, so the men don't have what they need to give the women what they want.
That is that entitlement, that fear, that drowning.
Yep.
That we are going to have to get to that place where women are going to have to, and we talk all the time. Let me pause that thought. We talk all the time about, for a woman to submit to a man, he has to be worthy of her trust.
Yeah.
We are definitely getting to a place where we have to push hard on that conversation of, if you want men to be men and masculine, you have to be worthy of him as well. It's
Yeah.
double worthiness on both sides.
Yeah, that's what the Whatever podcast is doing such a good job at. That's why I like them so much. They do a really good job of getting women to come on and demonstrate the entitlement that that they want everything given and to give nothing. They're all queens, and they all are, they all want a top 1% guys. That's what they put in the titles of their videos.
So let me
And
ask you this. What's
yeah.
the next step? So let's say that is indeed being uncovered. A lot of women are entitled.
Mm-hmm.
What happens after? Let's say if you did, expose the fact that this is a major, major issue in society, and it truly is. What do you tell a woman who goes on to the Whatever podcast and, says what she says? How do you get her better?
Want more math? Go to itishomemath.com and get the newsletter for insider updates, more videos, and other stuff. You don't say anything to get them better. You can't do that, because even if you have one of those like feminist destroyed, even if you have one of those videos where you really tell her what for, she's just going to go home and keep her same values later. It's show don't tell is the principle. So rather than telling them what they need to do, which they're never going to listen to, I don't know if you've ever tried to get anyone to listen to something they don't want to listen to. It does not happen. You have to put them in situations where your choices are giving you consequences, but we're offloading all of the consequences onto men instead. So
That's
as
true.
long as, yeah.
That's true. I've got 5 kids, and telling them does very, very little. Boys or girls, telling them does very little.
Yeah.
Letting them follow through on the consequences, or even just walking them through the consequences and letting them see it.
Yeah.
The awareness that floods their consciousness,
Yes.
and cultivates their prefrontal cortex,
Yeah.
which as kids we're supposed to develop. If it doesn't develop by 25, you've got mush for prefrontal cortex, and that's part of where society is. There's an old
Yeah.
saying that society progresses one grave at a time, and sadly in some ways true. But you do have to cultivate that, and showing real consequences is irreplaceable. You
Yeah.
can't get by without that.
Yeah, I've got this from my live stream, I think yesterday, where somebody asked me a similar question. And they were asking me, how do you get people to understand something? I don't remember exactly what the question was. And the mistake that we make is we use our logical, rational minds to communicate logical, rational things, which does not work, because that's not where beliefs come from. Beliefs come from here. It starts in feelings and sensations, which become identity and emotions, which then become beliefs. You cannot just tell people, have this belief that you haven't felt yet. You got to make them feel it. And I don't know how we're going to do that.
So that's actually, Andre, what you do, right? So it is logical left brain trying to speak to emotional right brain, and emotional right brain has no idea what's happening. But you do quite well at marketing, at advertising, at speaking to those, and you've told me all the time. You've told me numbers of times, and this has stuck with me. People respond to 2 things: fear and desire. Those are the only 2 things on the planet people really respond to, is fear and desire.
Yeah.
How do you speak to that? How do you teach somebody through those?
So we have externalized those mechanisms and given them into the hands of anybody and everybody, from the government to the popular media to social media to anybody who's got an influence on your life, especially, again, going back to the question of men. I think that is a good place to comment. We said, you will tell me what I should desire and what I should fear. And by consequence, there's simply no way that anybody can do anything with their life as long as that is the structure. what we must do if we want to change all of these dynamics we've been talking about, that first of all is, men, again, speaking as a man and speaking to men, I say that you need to bring that system back in. It's not about what you should be afraid of. It is who you are afraid of being, and who is it that you desire to be, that is going to be the directive, that is going to break the system that home math has right there. Right, where it's not going to be the woman who says I want, and then you say, well, she wants, she desires, and now I must desire the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go get it, and I'm going to be dependent on her paying me. And then the system breaks, and you say, well, all women suck. I did my part, they screwed me over, and I'm going to go sit in my, in my basement, play video games forever because I got screwed over. It's like, no, it's a question of what is it that you desire? Who do you desire to be? And most of all, what do you fear to become? I personally fear to become the guy who sits in the basement alone and has failed everybody and cannot achieve anything. So
Yeah.
I specifically act to avoid that. And I think as a lot more people kind of get into the mentality that it's they who decide what they become, and they have the ability to control what their life is going to look like through their definition of their own fears and definition of their own desires, that might change a lot of things.
I think our answer actually is found in a play written 500 years ago by William Shakespeare called The Taming of the Shrew. And in this play, right, and Homath's already laughing. In this play, forgive me, I can't remember the names, but I believe her name is Kate, is angry, shrill, controlling, domineering. Everybody and everything is under her control. And she only comes to understand the folly of her own behaviors, even viciously attacking her sister and her father, through the consequences that her husband levies upon her in a number of ways. And I can't defend some of his actions, but he does lay consequences on her for her actions. And by the end of the play, what's fascinating is it's actually her that grabs the other ungrateful wives and drags them to their husbands and forces them to apologize because and then she goes on a long spiel about the sacrifices that husbands make,
Mm.
the appreciation a wife must
Yeah.
have, and how he has earned her faithfulness and earned her gratitude and earned her service,
Yeah.
not by crushing force, not from tyranny, but through the ongoing pain and suffering that he endures. I think that's what society is also waiting for, is women, the good women, the genuinely good-hearted women out there
Yeah.
who want that love, who want that intimacy, and who are appalled at the behavior of other women. When those women get up and say something and do something and drown out the entitled, angry, selfish women with personality disorders at 15 to 20%, when
Yeah.
the good women have enough, I think that's where a lot of this begins to change. It is men that need to get up off the floor, but it's also women that need to get off their phone and out of their room and go do something about the other women. Men need to police men, women need to police women. And I think that when that happens, we will get somewhere.
Want more math? Go to itishomemath.com and get the newsletter for insider updates, more videos, and other stuff.